Yeah, that was great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Ignition News. Today is January 30th, 2026. It is yet another horrific and, I guess, historic day in the United States of America. We have a number of stories to discuss this morning, but of course, the lead story at this time, it is about 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in our studios here live in Las Vegas. And the breaking news story is the dramatic, unwarranted political prosecution and arrest of independent journalist Don Lemon. We're obviously still learning some more details. We're going to break those details with you live on the show today as we discuss it. It's going to be a little bit less formal today because obviously when the United States government is arresting journalists, well, we have to start paying attention. This is, ladies and gentlemen, a 5-alarm fire. This is a dramatic escalation of authoritarianism. But before I get into the show, I just want to let you know that this is to be expected. This type of action is to be expected from an administration so deeply unpopular with the people, so deeply unpopular with the world, that it has to resort to constant attempts to distract from the utter failures of its policymaking, of its economic policy, of its own governance. When a government is run by the worst people, by the most unqualified people, well, that becomes very evident. That becomes very visible very quickly. And what's happening and what is increasingly happening is as it is more apparent that this government is run by an aging, cognitively disabled grifter, as his people fail to implement policy which makes your life better, that becomes louder and louder and louder and louder. And so what they have to do is they have to turn up the volume of the chaos. And that's what's happening today. The volume of the chaos has to be turned up in America in order to drown out the policy failures of this administration. We're streaming live today on the following platforms. We are streaming live on our news show, Spotify. We're streaming live to the feed. Please consider subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. We are also on YouTube and Twitch right now. Hello, everyone on Substack. And then, of course, on TikTok. I will say that TikTok is becoming an increasingly hostile environment for sharing news and information about what's happening in America right now. So please do consider following us on one of those other platforms as well. And do subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It's how we're able to bring you the show at no charge. I mean, it's important. And it takes time, energy, and money, just to be very honest with you. We need your support. I do want to, before I get into this story about Don Lemon, there's an equally horrific story that I think warrants immediate attention because it is connected. Before we broke on the show, this just came across my feed, and it's something that we're learning about, and is that ICE agents are apparently now stealing from people. We are learning that in addition to conducting these horrific raids, we're beginning to get reports from family members of detained individuals or individuals arrested, harassed, I guess in some instances killed by ICE, that they are stealing from people. We know this because now there is a photograph of an ICE agent wearing someone's gold bracelet. This was broken by the International Business Times, but now we're starting to see a gold bracelet, which belongs to a detainee, allegedly, on the hands of an ICE agent. Of course, this should not surprise anyone, but it should be a wake-up call. On the same day that Don Lemon, a journalist, independent journalist, was arrested, these are no longer mirrors of previous horrific acts which have happened both in this country and, of course, in other countries. They are our own fresh chaos, and we have to pay attention. It's one of the reasons, and we'll talk about action steps, but it's one of the reasons why it is important now for you to document. For it is important for you to take note and to take record of what these people are doing. Because long after this cognitively declining orange president has no longer the president, we're going to have to find these criminals. We're going to have to prosecute these criminals. We're going to have to hold them accountable for what they did. Every photograph you take, every piece of evidence you gather, every piece of audio you gather, every video, every screenshot, every threat they make against you or your neighbors, we must categorize this. But also, don't just have it on your phone. Go out and get a hard drive, get an SD card, save this information places. I have information that I gather that we store on digital media, and we send it literally overseas. We send it to the UK. We've got people in Australia as well. And I recognize that this is an increase. There's really no safe place in the world right now, if we're being very honest with you. But that shouldn't mean that we don't hold and retain that information. And don't just keep it on your phone. Keep a physical copy. If it's bad enough, print a copy of it and store it in a safe place. Send it overseas if you can, while you can. This is exactly the kind of thing that goes unnoticed on a day like the flashy arrest of a journalist, Don Lemon. You've got an ICE agent walking around with someone else's gold bracelet. This is a crime against humanity. And they may seem impenetrable now. They may seem invulnerable now. But we will find these people and we will hold them accountable. You can say what you want about enforcing immigration law, but stealing property from someone is still a crime. Whether that's a state crime, a city crime, a federal crime, it is up to us to hold them accountable. Let's get into the news, everybody. It is a challenging day. We've got a few stories to cover for you. Here on the Ignition News, I give you 4, 5, 6 stories that I think are important, maybe a little bit off the beat from everyone else, so that you can stay tuned to what's happening in the country. Our top story is obvious today. While you were sleeping, the federal government moved to criminalize journalism. In Wyoming, a MAGA Congresswoman was chased off of her stage. Meanwhile, the administration is quietly building huge detention centers, and behind closed doors, Republicans even now are asking, what the hell is wrong with our president? Good morning, everyone. Let's get into the first story. Please do follow the show on your favorite podcast platform. Not every show is broadcast live, and it's important that you get the information when and where you can. Last night, FBI and Homeland Security agents arrested Don Lemon and 3 other journalists. What was the crime, you're asking? Well, the crime was they documented a protest. On January 18th, now, this is pretty famous, Lemon and other independent journalists, we've got Traherne, Gene Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamil Lydell Lundy. They were at City's Church in St. Paul. Protesters were there because the pastor allegedly works for ICE. He's allegedly the field commander. The journalists there were just doing their jobs. They were recording a historic protest. And let us just zoom out for the moment. Whatever this government wants to say about the FACE Act, this law that they're using to make these arrests, let's take the law aside for a moment and just look at it from a raw moral perspective. You have someone who is the head of a church. What would Jesus do? The head of a church, also the head of ICE, these horrific criminals stealing from people now, killing people on our streets now, abducting children. They have this 5-year-old in detention, Liam. He's apparently very ill. What would Jesus say? Jesus would be flipping tables right now. There's no question in my mind. Nonetheless, Pam Bondi is calling this a, quote, coordinated attack. She's charging them with conspiracy and violating the FACE Act. Now, the FACE Act is actually a law that was designed to protect abortion clinics. They added religious institutions. Do you know why they added religious institutions? They added it because they knew that just making it abortion clinics was going to be unconstitutional. So they added in religious institutions to the FACE Act specifically to get it to pass constitutional muster. Don Lemon is represented, unfortunately, by one of the best attorneys, Abby Lowell. And Abby said the following: this is a transparent attempt to distract from the fact that federal agents have killed 2 peaceful Minnesota protesters this month. 2 judges previously, by the way, this is an important part if you're not up to speed on this. 2 judges had rejected the warrants for the arrest because there was no evidence of criminal behavior. So Pam Bondi went jury shopping all around to find a grand jury that would indict Don Lemon. Now, this is probably good for Don Lemon, but we don't know. Obviously, a very developing story. Don Lemon is not an anonymous person. He's a huge storied journalistic career. If you're not like very up to speed on his current sort of journey, he left CNN and he started his own independent broadcasting. He does a daily news show on, what do you know, TikTok, on YouTube, on Spotify. And here we go. They arrested him. Now, I think it's important to note that this happened in conjunction with another arrest. They arrested the person who led this protest. And what they did with that, they took that individual's photograph and they doctored her photograph to make it look like she was crying. Now, this person, Don Lemon, many of the activists, they're Black Americans. I think it's worth noting that this administration is so cowardice and that this only further supports this agenda of theirs this sort of ethnic cleansing campaign that they're on. I don't think it's any coincidence that they're choosing to target Black Americans right now. Nonetheless, Don Lemon has been arrested. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on this. Yeah, it's kind of shocking, but it's also not shocking. As we started the show with, this is the kind of thing you would expect from an administration that is flailing, flapping its arms because it's not doing anything. But there's real world consequences. Let me talk about, if you think nothing is going to change, if you think nothing is going to happen, let's just briefly transition over. This is hitting the heart of even the deepest red parts of our country right now. Not a lot of people know this. I'm actually originally from Wyoming, so this story hits very close for me. If this administration thinks that it has total, complete control, they are wrong. They are losing support in even the darkest, deepest red areas of this country. Let's zoom out to Wyoming. Casper, Wyoming. I'm actually from Casper, Wyoming. I'm uniquely qualified to discuss this. So Casper's congressman is Harriet Hageman. That is the woman who replaced Liz Cheney, by the way. We obviously know why Liz Cheney was no longer in office, because she was on the J6 commission. She spoke out against the president. And the president, sicked his rabid supporters on her, she lost her primary election. She didn't run. So Hageman is having this town hall in Casper, and her constituents didn't want to talk about Democrats or Republicans. They want to talk about what's happening. So she had people there to talk about, this is what they do. They do these congressional town halls. So people asked in the town hall why she had not condemned the killing of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And she called it a tragedy, obviously, but she refused to really call for any accountability. Here's some quotes from some residents in Wyoming. One resident, Elise Taylor, took her to task on the Fourth Amendment. She brought up the DHS memo authorizing warrantless home invasions. Facts Hageman claims she, quote, didn't trust. Then she got shouted down by the crowd. And then this citizen said, as a constitutional lawyer, why are you not incensed? Yes. Hageman didn't answer. She gathered her folders and fled the stage with 12 people still in line. In deep red Wyoming, they were, shouting that she was a coward. And this is a district, Casper, Wyoming. This is as ruby red as you can get. But I want to quickly highlight. I want to highlight something, okay? This is another example, even in the deepest red part of the country. It's not other politicians holding these people accountable. It's not lawyers. It's not judges. It's you, everyday citizens, okay? How many of you thought you would need to be learning about constitutional protections? I mean, I'm glad this is happening. But the idea that someone would research the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, they would research the news, and then they would go to their local congressional town hall and they would fucking stick it to them, right? Hold them accountable. No, you're a constitutional lawyer, Representative Hageman. Why aren't you pissed off right now? Why aren't you outraged right now? And of course, just like all of the Republicans right now, they're sycophantic, submissive, fearful little wimps. And so instead of answering the questions of the people who elected her, she fled the stage. She literally fled the stage. If you want to know how you can do things like that, I have good news for you. We have a signature show, Ignite, a podcast. It's totally free. Ignite, Fighting Fascism in the Age of Its Rise. It's 14 episodes, 4 bonus episodes, and it teaches you exactly this kind of thing. How to educate yourself, how to stick up to your congressional representatives, how to run for office if you want to run for office, how to fix the pothole in the front of your house. Ignite, Fighting Fascism in the Age of Its Rise is our signature podcast. It is the sponsor of today's show, and it's totally free. Go download Ignite, Fighting Fascism in the Age of Its Rise, and learn how to do exactly this sort of thing. Next story. I want to talk to you about an emerging story that I think we should kind of put all of these things together. Okay? Warehouses. So now we know they're arresting us or killing us in the streets. And these operations are ramping up. The ICE budget is enormous, by the way. We know that they are keeping lists of us, and we know that they are essentially stalking us in our own communities. So what and where are they going to take this next? Well, if you're Don Lemon, you have an expensive lawyer who's going to get you out of jail today, and you're going to fight this charge. But if you're me or you probably don't have that. And I want to tell you where you might be going. You might be going to a warehouse. not a place designed to hold prisoners. Not that there's any humane handling of prisoners happening right now anyway. But they're on a massive spending spree right now. The Washington Post has a story this morning that the administration is acquiring industrial warehouses. This story has been popping up in various places over time. We've covered this before. They've already spent $102 million on a facility in Maryland and $70 million in Arizona. Think about that. A warehouse in Arizona. How hot does that get? And they're using DC-based shell companies to bypass state laws to prohibit ICE contracts. In Kansas City, ICE agents surrounded a local legislator's car just for filming them. The city council has already moved to block permits, calling these facilities homegrown concentration camps. And it's obviously not about regular detention standards. This is because they can't possibly build legal, safe detention facilities. They're buying warehouses, like literally old Amazon warehouses, to put people in. Think about this. A warehouse in Arizona in the summer, 120 degrees. Whether or not Spotify lets me say this, or whether or not TikTok lets me say this, by the way, these are American concentration camps. These are American concentration camps. And I'm going to say this as diplomatically as possible. They are not building these facilities with the preservation of life in mind. They are building these facilities for two reasons, I believe. Number one, obviously, well, let's say three. Number one, obviously, to make us afraid. If you think that you're afraid now, or you feel afraid now, imagine someone on the live stream says that this facility is 5 minutes from their house. Imagine how do I say this? Sorry, I'm struggling to come up with the words. Imagine how your neighbors who might join you at a protest would feel if 5 minutes from your house, they were building a warehouse to hold prisoners that could hold 80,000 people. It scares people. Number two, they don't have a plan for the people that they arrest. You don't build warehouses to hold 80,000, 100,000, a million people if you have plans on removing them from the country. It's not necessary. Number three, as with most prison systems in the United States, what they're going to do when and where they can, these are not just about arresting people. This is about literal work camps. We already know that they're doing this with detainees. We already know that they're doing this in American prisons, by the way, as well. But these are going to be when and where they can work camps. You have American warehouses detaining people, forcing them into labor. And there's no plan here. The only plan is chaos. And it is causing fracture. Let's cover the next story. Good morning, everyone. It's good if you're just joining the show. Please do click follow. It's important. And if you're watching on one of our live feeds, please consider subscribing. You can subscribe on Substack or Spotify. You can subscribe on YouTube or Twitch. But please do subscribe. I need your support to continue to do this. It is dangerous to tell the truth in America right now. But just like you, I am not afraid. They could build a warehouse 20 feet from my house and I will still be out here. And we will find each other no matter where we have to go. There's big fracture in the GOP, though. It's our final story of the day. We're starting to hear actual cracks from Republicans. Obviously, you saw Tom Tillis going at Kristi Noem, going at Stephen Miller. But we're getting a lot of private conversation calling the president's behavior nuts. Republican identification has dropped 6 points in a single year. Incumbents are leaving. They're not seeking re-election. 10% of Congress, by the way, is not seeking re-election. They see what's happening with this lame duck president. They see the low approval ratings, and they're whispering to each other in the hallways. The question is, why aren't they saying it in the microphone? Only the people who aren't running for re-election are the actual people speaking out. People are talking about Tillis and his remarks about Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller. He's not running for re-election. He doesn't have anything to worry about. But this will continue. It will continue. And it's why we have to keep the pressure up. Let's connect the dots, everybody. Okay? They are normalizing violence. They are criminalizing the documentation of that violence. That part is essential. Okay? They are criminalizing the documentation of their inhumane violence. They're trying to make it illegal to film ICE agents. They're arresting Don Lemon. I had 2 armed men come to my house in April. 2 armed men. on behalf of Nevada's Governor Joe Lombardo. They showed up on a Saturday morning to my house. They will show up to your house as well. But don't be afraid. They're trying to make you afraid, by the way, by building warehouses or buying warehouses or renting warehouses in Arizona. 120 degrees, a big metal building. They're not interested in keeping you alive. They're interested in keeping you afraid. This is authoritarianism in real time, but the cracks are there. Don't forget that the cracks are there. Whether that is students all across this country right now, or whether that is people in deep red Wyoming, or whether that is city council in Kansas City, people are fighting back. This administration is betting that you will not be out on the streets, or that you will not vote with your wallet, or that you will not protect the election infrastructure. But their bet is wrong. So here's what I need you to do. I told you this earlier in the show. Document everything. Get a way to store this information. Save it where you can. The heinous evidence, take the evidence, find someone. There's a website, Post Crossing. We talk about this on our live show. There's a great website called Post Crossing. It's a pen pal website, okay? You can find pen pals all over the country. You can go on my live feed and find people from other countries. You can, my good friend Charlotte has a project, Letters from America. If you can, get this information and get it out of the country. I know it seems hyperbolic to say that right now. I know it seems, oh, this crazy guy on the news show talking about sending evidence overseas right now. We are there right now. We are there right now. And we saw what this app, TikTok especially, is willing to do to silence us. It was an incredible swing of both incompetence and also state control over the media. We're seeing it happen in real time. So document. Number 2, educate yourself. Be like that woman in Wyoming. I'm guessing the person who asked that congresswoman in Wyoming about the Fourth Amendment, I'm guessing that person maybe didn't know that 3 years ago. That's a big guess on my behalf. It's probably not fair to that person, but I'm more educated about the Constitution than I was even 3 years ago, and I consider myself to be kind of an expert in these things. Educate yourself about your rights. Confront, by the way, centers of power about your rights. Confront centers of power. If you're going to be protesting in your city, obviously we talk about documentation, confront the center of power. Go to the police. Make them tell you. Make them tell you about your rights. Make your mayor tell you about your rights. Make your city council tell you about your rights. Educate yourself about your rights for filming, recording, documenting, when you can record, when you can legally record. And let me be very clear with you. You're going to find yourselves in situations where you're not always going to have the ability to know if your lawyer would tell you you're doing the right thing, but exercise your best judgment and think about history. Because here's the thing, friends. They are talking about Don Lemon right now, or Renee Good right now, or Alex Preddy right now. All of whom, by the way, are American heroes. You see that. But they're talking about Don Lemon right now like people in the South talked about Harriet Tubman. Or the police talked about Rosa Parks. Or pick your historical resistance icon. Sophie Scholl, we talk about Sophie Scholl in Ignite, Fighting Fascism in the Age of Its Rise. She was a 22-year-old college student in Munich, Germany. By the time that she realized that she had to do something, it was too late. It was illegal to speak out against the government. But she got a bunch of her friends together along with a professor, and they secretly printed flyers. And they handed out flyers against the government on the campuses of colleges. They put them in phone books, and they anonymously mailed them to powerful people in Germany when it was illegal to do so. And when they finally caught her on a college campus handing out flyers, they hanged her just a few days later for handing out flyers. And if you think that won't come to this country, then you are wrong. You are ill-informed. Don Lemon is an American journalist with one of the best lawyers in this country, and they arrested him in a hotel lobby to prove a point. They're building warehouses to put us there. This is not hyperbole. ICE has more money than they will ever need to do quote unquote legal deportations. ICE is an American army for the president, and they will be coming for you. So prepare. Prepare yourself and prepare your spine. Prepare your spine. The bravest Americans right now are the Americans on the street. And if they can't be on the street, they're voting with their wallet, or they're making phone calls, or they're standing up and they're saying, I will not be moved. So do not be moved. And make no mistake. Some of us will pay the price of resistance. I have already paid the price. Some of you will pay a deeper price than I will. But the question is not what are you doing now, but what are you doing for children, people in the future? What will people see of your resistance now? And what will they say of what you did or did not do now? The people who stood against tyranny historically in history, they were called criminals at the time. They will not say nice things about you when you resist this administration. They will besmirch your reputation. They will threaten your friends and family for speaking up for you. But what choice do we have? To simply go on our knees and give up all of our rights? To give up all of the freedoms that I have seen advance in my lifetime? To give them away for what? Incompetent Christian nationalists? White Christian nationalists, by the way? People who can't govern with competence, so they're forced to govern with fear? I'm supposed to give up my rights for this? No. Your rights are never taken from you. You voluntarily surrender them. They can't take, this is very important. They can't take your speech from you. They can only make you afraid to talk. Alex Preddy used his speech until his very last moment, till his very last breath, screaming on the ground in the street of Minneapolis. They couldn't take it from him. So he refused to give it up. And he paid a price, a massive price, an unnecessary price. To be clear, they murdered him. And what it is increasingly looking like, by the way, we now know that in conjunction with Palantir, and Ken Klippenstein is reporting to us, that they are keeping detailed lists of us, that they can use and point their phone at our face, and they can identify us from our social media or our driver's license or a vast network of data. They can tell who we are, and when we piss them off, apparently they will stalk us until they have the moment to kill us, which is what it appears happened to Alex Preddy. It appears that because Alex Preddy was involved in protesting against ICE, it's just my opinion, it appears that they were tracking him. And when they saw him, in the moment in time that they saw him, they predicated a reason to kill him on the streets of an American city. So they sprayed him in the face while he was holding a phone that they apparently stole, that we don't know where that phone is anymore, by the way. Then it took 7 or 8 of these cowards to gang up on him, to assault him, to pummel him on the street, to try to silence him. But he still was not silenced. He screamed. The First Amendment gives you your God-given right to scream against your government, even when they try to take your life. And they did. They took his life. They killed him. They shot him in the back. For what? Because an immigrant, someone was here in the country. They want to have it both ways. Is this country so great now? My final question for you. Is this country so great now, even amongst all of this chaos, that people flee the most dangerous conditions in the world, even more dangerous than it is now, to come here to try to make a better life for themselves? Is that the predicate of your argument? That this country is already so great that they come here? And then you have to hunt us down on the streets? Your rights are not taken from you. You voluntarily give them up. Educate yourself. Learn how to document these crimes. There will be accountability for these crimes, but your responsibility is to keep the evidence. And your most important responsibility is not to be afraid of these people. That is what they want. That's the Ignition News, everybody, for January 30th, 2026. On a day like this, when the government uses all of the tools of its power to scare you, you must use all of the tools and the steel in your spine to stand up. I know many of you will be out on the streets today protesting. Many of you will be participating in economic boycotts today. And of course, something not being discussed, thank you for pointing this out on the show. Thousands of students across this country are going to be walking out today. Where our politicians have failed us, our young, impassioned Americans are going to take to the street today to protest this government. And so, as we always should, let us have hope in the voices of our young, and let us go to the streets without fear. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. That's the Ignition News today on January 30th. That was a long show. Good job, everybody. Thanks, Substack. We're shutting her down here on Substack. End live video. We're going to leave the studio.